Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crime and Entertainment. I have here a very special guest. Now, I've been following this individual's work for a while now, probably going on 4 or 5 years. And he's got a crazy story. And what is so compelling about the story is where he had to come from, what he had to go through to get where he's at now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Ciro Dapagio. Ciro, how you doing, my friend?
Hollywood Way. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm fantastic. Living the dream. Can't complain. Um,
Right
look
on.
here, you have a crazy story. And like all stories, it's probably best we just kind of start from the beginning and work our way to where you're at now. Kind of tell us a little bit about, what part of it, what area you grew up in, what kind of, direction you took as you got a little bit older. Give us a little background there.
I grew up in Miami. I'm a Miamian. I've lived in New York as well, but I'm not one of those people that just claim New York to be claiming New York. I love Miami. I love being from Miami and everything about Miami. So that's me through and through.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I grew up in Miami and ran the streets, did the things, and had about, I don't know, between probably about 7 years of adult life, living okay. And then of course spent a whole lot of my adult life not living okay. And then the last 5 years building it back.
Well, and that's kind of what we want to talk about, the building it back. Now, real quick, what was the total amount of time? You had to do a little stint away. What was your total time in there?
19 years, 11 months, 17 days.
That is a big number.
Yeah, that's the total amount of time I did.
That you got to have a certain kind of mindset to do that kind of time. I recently did an interview with a guy named Johnny Curry. I'm not sure if you're familiar with who he is, but there's a big drug kingpin out of Detroit. He was married to, at the time, the mayor's niece up there. And then he was also in tight with the detective over homicide. So he was pretty high up. And when he finally went and got busted, I think he cut a deal and he had to do like 13 years. But he said something that was kind of crazy. He said that was almost a break. He said, because I didn't have to worry about the cops. I didn't have to worry about getting caught. I didn't have to worry about, so much stuff on the outside getting killed. He said, but, because the only one that could really get to you out there on the streets was a friend. So you also didn't have to worry about your friends because they had easier access to you than a lot of enemies. But the way he put it was just compelling because I never heard it looked at like that before. He described prison as a break. Now, I know that's not the case for everybody, but while you were in there, you used your time very wisely because when you came out, man, you came out on fire. How did you come up with the idea for the Mob King? Was it while you were inside?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say, address a few of those things. It sounds like to me he might have done most of his time in a Fed camp. I was in the Fed too, and that's like a college campus,
right?
Unless you're in one of the places like Leavenworth or whatever, or the USP in Atlanta, that's a tough one. I was there for a while, so there's nothing to break about that. I can see where he's saying that about a camp, even though I never got to spend time in one because my custody level. Mm-hmm. But I can see where I did that. Now, I've found that convicts, inmates, whatever, there's two different things. An inmate is an inmate, a convict is a convict. If you've been there, you understand what I'm saying.
Yep.
But they come up with different ways to rationalize the time. Like you said, he said it was a break. He might have got killed. He might have got whatever. I was not fortunate. I mean, I did 15 years straight in state prison. I had Fed and then state time. And that was, there was no such thing as a break in that. I mean, everything from the minute you wake up, even while you're sleeping, is nothing but tension. You fight every day. You do a lot of dirt every day. A lot of people that are on my page that you follow have done actual time with me. A lot of them are my brothers. Mm-hmm. That we clicked while we were in there, clicked up. Everything's about gang life in prison. Mm-hmm. And so that's pretty much how it went. I don't really want to get into what gang or this, that, and the third, but the name Mob King comes from what I represented in prison and what I allegedly was doing on the street. So I put it together, and that's Mob King.
Okay. Now, you actually, and we'll kind of get away from the time there because I want to focus on more of what you got going on, but you've done a pretty long stretch in solitary, right? You spoke about that a couple times on your Facebook profiles.
But it wasn't, yeah, I mean, I did 7 years in solitary, but it wasn't straight.
Okay.
The way that at least the prison system I was in, the state of Florida State Prison, you know, when anything happens to go down on the compound and you are an alleged leader of something, you get put in what they call as an investigation. So basically, you sit on an investigation until the matter is resolved, or until prison officials feel like, you know, you're not that big of a threat, or whatever the case may be, whatever's been resolved. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I didn't deserve to be under investigation. I was just smart enough for them not to catch me to do a lot of things. I was a very violent person in prison because that's the only way you could really survive.
Yeah, it had to be.
You know, you either eat or be eaten, you know? So, you know, there's a lot of things that go on, and it's the thing about where you mentioned right there, where you said he didn't have to worry about getting killed. I mean, in prison, you have to worry about that every day.
Yeah.
Because there's you can't see it coming. When you're standing on a rec yard and you got 1,000 inmates on the yard, now they've broken it up a little bit over the time where there's 300 or 400, but still it's shoulder to shoulder with somebody, you know what I mean? And it's all packed in, and you're waiting for the gate to open so you can walk back to your dorm. That's the easiest place to get somebody. In prison, it's so easy to do harm to somebody and get away with it that it's not even funny, because even if they know it's you, they can only put you under investigation unless they actually catch you with the weapon, an officer sees you actually stabbing somebody or doing something. That's the only way you can really be held accountable for it. And, you know, at least in my case, you know, I tended to victimize pedophiles and stuff like that because I can't stand them. And, you know, sex offenders, stuff like that. But, you know, the general everyday operation of prison, you know, it's got its own way of doing things. You know, there's guys that make things happen, like I was, you know, where you get the work squads getting things dropped off, getting your work squad guys bringing it in, then getting your mules to bring it over to the main compound, and then putting it out to your buyers for, you know, we're talking everything from cell phones to dope, the whole 9 yards. It's a whole commerce system, you know. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, sometimes people try to have sense. They buck you. They don't send the money like they're supposed to. You know, back then it was Western Union wires and stuff, and people would give you fake Western Union numbers, you know. Yeah. Fortunately, we had cell phones most of the time. We could verify it, but still, you know, junkie stunts abound inside that place, you know. So,
oh yeah,
no such thing as rest and relaxation, man. At least from my point of view of doing that time. They call it gladiator school for a reason, and every day it's something, you know.
Yeah, that's a big difference, like you mentioned, between state and fed time. If anybody out there has ever done time, like you said, that is a dramatic difference between the two. And with the things you just mentioned, you know, getting stuff brought in, and we'll get to that here in a minute, you kind of carried that over into a film you would kind of have something to do with later on too. But let's start with the Mob King, because it's been probably, I'd say, about 4 years. I found it on Facebook. I think I was searching through and I watched it. When you came out, how did you go about trying to put that together? Because it was done very well. You even had Antonio, how do you pronounce his last name? Corone?
Anthony Corone.
Okay. Yeah, Anthony Corone. Okay, yeah, he was in there. I mean, so you had a name in there to go along with it, and man, it was really well done. Tell us kind of how you put that together.
Well, you know, it's one of those things that I guess was just kind of like when you say something's kind of meant to be, because, you know, it's really, you know, awe-inspiring how it's happened. You know, it's hard for me to even fathom that it's taken place for me the way that it has. But, you know, basically, you know, you know, look, the thing about the life I've led, there's nothing glamorous about it. I don't ever pretend to anybody to say that I had a glamorous life. Even when I was doing the street life, it's a roller coaster. You're up 1 minute, you're down 1 minute, you're constantly having to hustle, you're constantly having to do this. So yeah, while I had a lot of money and a lot of, you know, whatever you want to call street cred, this, that, and the third, it's not worth the 20 years of my life. You know what I mean? Right. So I don't ever wish to glorify or make someone think a life of crime is cool or it's going to be great. Because what I would say to somebody who wants to be a gangster today is that you're off your rocker, man. Yeah. I don't, you know, normally I would use street language for that, like you're dumb as you know what. But anybody who wants to choose that type of lifestyle today is just they're just ignorant, because there's no way to survive in that. There's no way to live in that. The drug business it's not a matter of if you'll get caught, it's a matter of when. You know, it can be the first week you're in business or 2 years, and you could be the biggest baller on the block. When the government comes, they take every single thing you own. Every single thing you own. You will have nothing. You won't even have money to pay a lawyer. So it's not worth it. Now, with that said, there's the penalty you pay. You know, like my kids growing up without me, that leaves you with like a sickness in your body. It just eats at you, you know? I'm fortunate enough to have a second go around, if you want to call it that, with my little son.
Right.
My wife I got a nice, beautiful young wife. She gave me a son, and I get to experience that. But my other kids lost out on that. There's no way to give them back what they had to suffer through without their dad, right? Then my mother dies in prison. They don't even let me go because of my gang affiliation. I have 9 months left in my sentence. They got me 15 hours away from my house in the Panhandle, and they only approved me for an 8-hour furlough, knowing damn well I can't go. But that's how they do things. They'll be like, well, you know, we approved you for 8 hours, you know, so I can't argue that you didn't approve me. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So she passes away. I don't get to see her. I don't get to put her to rest. And then when I get out, my dad, you know, he's 46 days, he's alive in the hospital, you know, so I'm spending time with him in the hospital every day for 46 days, and he passes away. The reason why I'm telling you this is that he left me a little bit of money. So with that money, I invested it all in my idea. Everybody thought I was crazy. They're like, what are you doing? You know, you got to put some money away. You got to get your future started. I'm like, this is my future. And my philosophy is simple, man. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, nobody else is going to, you know? So I had one opportunity. It was my chance. I could have went out. I could have spent money. I mean, it was a little bit of money, 80 grand, whatever the case may be. You know, in the grand scheme of things, that's a small amount of money, especially when you want to do a TV show or you want to put something together on film, because it's a very expensive proposition. And I started doing it. So word got around. Antoni Corone had heard about it. He contacted me, and strangely enough, he had known me 25 years earlier. He actually had the hots for my first wife. So it was like we caught up then, and we're like, wow, okay. And then so he came on board, and it's a pretty funny story how he did. I tell it to everybody, but you know, Antoni Corone is a very well-established actor, 30 years in the business. He's played alongside all of the greats, you know, and like Joaquin Phoenix himself asked for him in his movies. He's been in like 3 or 4 of them with him. He was in Into the Night with him, Duvall, Marky Mark. They're in one big scene together. I mean, he still commands the room. He's just a phenomenal talent. But he said, look, man, if I'm going to hitch my train to this with you, I need to know that you can pull it off. And if you can't, I need to know that you're willing for us to find an actor who can, because being the lead in something is not an easy thing to do. Not everybody can do it. I'm like, no, I'm down with that. I'll produce. I don't care. I just want to make money. I'm in this business to make money. I don't chase fame. I don't chase clout. I don't give a crap about none of that. I never tell anyone that that's what it's about. I don't want to act for other people. I do what I do because I want to make stuff that makes money. That's what I'm in. That's why I do this, you know? And I'm hoping to get in a position where I can make shows where I don't have to be acting, because I don't have the acting bug. I don't care about it. You know, it's annoying for me to do it because you just stand around most of the time until they yell action. So, but that's a whole nother story. So anyway, he calls me at 1 o'clock in the morning, tells me this, and then he says, I'm going to send you an 8-page dialogue, 8 pages from a script that I did in Bloodline, because I want you to learn this particular role, and I'm going to have you read through it once, and I'll know whether or not you can pull it off. So I'm like, all right, no problem. He goes, okay, meet me at TY Park at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, dude, it's 1 in the morning. He goes, that's how acting is, man. He goes, I get stuff all the time, and I have to learn it in 15 minutes. I need to know that you can do this. I'm not going to attach myself to your train if you can't. I said, all right, man, no problem. So I go to the TY Park at 9 in the morning. I meet him. We read through it once. We go all the way through it. I don't make a mistake. I don't do anything. I run through it. He kisses me on my forehead, and he calls Jokes, who's the Emmy Award winner who directs all my stuff. Mm-hmm. And he tells him, this is our guy. So then when he hung up with him, I said, you want me to read the other part? He's like, what's the other part? I go, your part. He goes, you learned that part too? I go, yeah. He goes, no, you didn't. I said, yeah, I did. And we ran that one through. So it was pretty cool. So I just have a natural ability to read something really fast. Like everybody who works with me will tell you that I don't even learn the lines before I get there. Whatever scene is coming up, I'll scan the the pages, and then I'll pick it up and then, you know, study it a couple times with the guys at the table. We'll do a little table read for 15, 20 minutes and we'll just knock it out, you know? So fortunately, those words stick in my head where it just comes easy for me and naturally for me. So it worked out. That's what I mean about it. Just like, it's kind of hard to fathom that, you know, here I was, this guy, and I've made all this stuff and won all these awards for acting and stuff like that and getting all this attention. And, you know, and who am I? You know what I mean? It's like this, some street guy trying to make it, you know? So it's working out pretty good, man. But I put all the money together. We shot those first episode. We shot the first little episode. And then I was able to find an investor because of that episode. So if I wouldn't have spent my money, I would have never been where I'm at now, on the cusp of possibly something really huge with this movie coming out. Mm-hmm. And the movie is fire. And I'm not just saying it because I'm in it. There's really good actors in this movie. James Russo, Oksana Lada, Artie Pasquale, Robert LaSardo, Stelio Savante, Mike Villar. It's just incredible talent. Elisabetta Fantone, who plays my wife, Celine Alva, who plays my daughter. Just amazing stuff. Anthony Caliendo plays a character named Enzo. Phenomenal. So it just worked out beautiful. When you guys see it, you're going to be completely amazed, and I think enjoy it. You know, it's a whole different spin. It's not your stereotypical mob stuff, you know, where it's like, hey, God better have my money, man, for that poker thing, you know, go over there and bash his head in, you know, same BS over and over again. Right. Here you got a whole different vibe, you know, the way Miami rolls and the way it rolled back in the day. And that's where my stuff is a little different, because I have two different mob things that I've come out with, Silent Partners and Mob King, that are going to be coming out. And they're two different mob dramas, but they're two different mob dramas, but they're not that Sopranos type feel. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool stuff.
So one thing I want to ask you about, because it was kind of ingenious, did y'all shoot the whole episode and then divvy it into, like, what was it, like 10 or 15-minute parts, or how did that work? Because that was ingenious.
We didn't do it at all like that. So we did something that's called a oneer, man, which is like, it was real risky, because if you notice in that first episode, when I'm walking through the strip club, the camera moves with me everywhere. Yep. So it's in front of me. So anytime there's one mistake by anybody, and we didn't use a lot of seasoned actors then, I used a lot of friends and stuff like that.
Right.
So because it was my own money and it was expensive, you know, but they felt like I could pull it off. And we actually did it in 33 takes, which is like phenomenal, because you got to remember, there's so many working parts in that 15-minute little segment of so many different people doing things and having to move and act and stuff like that. And 16 of those things were camera errors, like they bumped the wall or they hit the corner, they hit the chair, whatever the case may be. So it was really phenomenal that it worked out and it came out great like that. But we did that first. Okay. So we spent the money on that. It was a 15-minute episode. We called them Mobisodes, and we released it on Facebook. Everybody's like, oh, don't do that. You got to try to sell it and this and that. I'm like, I'm putting it out for the fans. Nobody knows who the F I am. You know what I'm saying? So I want people to see it. You know, I mean, that's what I need to have happen. So released it on Facebook, of all places, and it got 250,000 views in like 3 days.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and it just started building from there, man. And every single episode of that, like on the website, it's been viewed over 2 million times, on Facebook 1 million times. You know, it's just obscene numbers, you know. And the funny thing about it is that it's like now that I know about film and how we do stuff and everything, it's entertaining, but it is, if I redid it now, it would look 1,000 times different. You know what I mean? So what we did is we did those in pieces. Each time, you know, we got a lot more views, a lot more of the fan base building. You know, there's a huge fan base to Mob King for whatever reason, you know, related to me, to the show, whatever the case may be. But you know, I got I think 600,000 followers alone just on Facebook. And, you know, it's not like Instagram where, you know, it's just people click follow. On Facebook, they have to actually go to your page and click follow and make a concerted effort to follow you. You know, it's not like there on Facebook and Instagram, you just click the little thing and boom, okay, I'm following this person. You know, people have to actually go to your page and do it, you know? So it's kind of cool. And then on the Mob King page, I got 150,000. So it's 750,000 just on 2 pages on Facebook, which is pretty phenomenal for basically a nobody. You know what I mean? So, you know, so it built from there. And then I went to Spain because I got a big deal signed for a television series, and then COVID hit, and then I got sick and stuff with diverticulitis and almost died.
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't want to gloss over that. Like, as everybody can see watching this video, because it's going to be uploaded to YouTube, you aren't a small guy. And when I seen those pictures of you in the hospital, it was like, I didn't even know what to think. I was like, that can't be the same guy.
Yeah, man, that was it's called I had perforated diverticulitis with complications, a DVT, and then septic shock. There's like 12% survival rate. It's all because of the Spanish doctors or whatever, they misdiagnosed me. They were, for like 3 weeks when I was going to the emergency room, telling them I had all this pain. They were saying it was just back pain or whatever and giving me muscle pills or whatever. And then I almost fell out in the emergency room 3 weeks later, and I did fall out. I went into shock, and they told my wife, oh, he's only got probably 12 hours to live. You need to contact his family, this, that, and the third. It was just a disaster, man. And I was there for 5-6 weeks in ICU. I lost 60 pounds. The doctor said if I wasn't as big as I was, you know, I would, the blood infection, because that's what it was. When it's perforated, it's leaking stuff into your blood system.
Right.
So the pain I was feeling was the blood poisoning everywhere, you know? And when I tell you what a horrible feeling it is, man, it's like, I can't even put it into words. I had 8 drains. I had to wear a colonoscopy bag or whatever the hell it's called, a shit bag. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can cuss on this.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So I had to wear one of the fucking bags on my stomach for 5 months, which is the most horrible, demeaning thing that people who have to do that for life, man, I just got such a mad respect for them, because it is so demoralizing mentally.
Yeah.
That it's not even funny, man. It's not even funny. It takes away your entire masculinity, anything that you think you got going on. And here I am trying to put weight back on and put muscle back on, and I got a bag on, you know, and it was just a very difficult process, but I got it off. I put the weight back. Thank God the physique came back, even at my age, 57 years old, in about a couple months. And I made it, man. It's just, you know, grace of God, really. And the fans, I really believe the fans had something to do with that, because there were literally thousands and thousands of people praying for me all the time, man. I was, you know, it got me through the hospital. I would sit in my bed all day and just read message after message after message after message, man. And, you know, it gave me a lot of, it just gave me a lot of confidence to go on, man, you know?
Well, that's good. And that's one thing I'll gloss over too. You know, before this happened, you know, before you went over to Spain, because I was following you back, you know, when you made that trip over there, you were always very interactive with the fans. I mean, you do lives constantly. You know, I mean, you and I had messaged, you know, back and forth some. So you took that time and you had an interaction with these fans. So I know that a lot of them felt, you know, a sense of closeness with you when you went through that. So I'm glad that everybody had, you know, sent you well wishes and prayed for you and helped bring you on through, because like I said, you were constantly on social media talking to people. And I mean, you were grinding, man. You got olive oil, you got your clothing line, your Mob King clothing line. I mean, you were at the CBD oil. I mean, you every time I look, you had something going out, and I respect that hustle, man.
Yeah, well, I'm fortunate, man, because people, I guess, see something in me, the name, the brand, whatever, and I don't pay no money for that, you know. I make money from it. So it's like they, you know, they give me 50% of this, 50% of that, and it's like, you know, it's just amazing that it takes place, you know. And as far as fans go, you know, my perspective is that for even one person, you know, to give a shit about what I'm doing, that means something to me. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not going to just, you know, pass over that like so many maybe other people who are semi-famous or famous or whatever. I don't consider myself famous or semi-famous, but, you know, to have fan interaction where they just don't pay attention to it, it just blows my mind, because nobody is you can't be an A-list actor if you don't have fans. Like, if Leonardo DiCaprio wasn't so popular with fans, they wouldn't cast him in movies, you know? They'd be like, nobody likes this guy, we're not going to cast him, you know? Like Johnny Depp fell out and went through all these problems, and they fired him from Pirates of the Caribbean. He can't even get a job now. And he was one of the most phenomenally high paid actors and great actors and everything. Look, he can't even get a job now, you know? So, you know, all that stuff matters. So to me, I don't care if I get to be on a a level that most of these guys are on, that are A-listers or big timers or whatever the case may be. I'm still going to be the same guy. Like the other day, right here in front of this Office Depot, where I mail the bottles of the oil, I sign them and everything. And the guy's like, hey man, I want to buy 8 bottles. I'm in Delray. Can I meet you? I meet people. I don't vet them. I don't know if they're crazy, if they're not crazy, because I look at it like, hey man, if that's the way we got to go down, then that's the way we're going to go down. I'm just not going to lay down. I'm going to fight whatever I got to fight. But if that's how it happens, it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it never happens. I've met people, you know, if you probably remember 3 years ago, I would tell people I'm in city, New York, where I'm at, Starbucks. There'd be 300 people that come out, and I'd meet every single one, take pictures with them. I have had nothing but the best experience with fans. I haven't had one nutty person, one crazy person. I'm sure they're out there, but fortunately for me, I haven't had to contend with it. And I don't think about it like that. Like people will say to me, like when I was going around passing out the premiere passes and I was delivering them myself to people's homes, and they're like, bro, how do you go in somebody's house like that and you don't know what to expect? I'm like, I don't think like that. I'm like, hey, this person wants to go to my premiere. I'm going to go bring them the tickets and surprise them, you know? So that's just the way I do things, man. I'm a little bit different when it comes to that. And I'm always going to stay like that. I'll still be the same guy that gets on with my same fans on this page, at my Facebook page, and still talk to them, do the lives, do everything, no matter how big. I'm never going to become what we call a high fluter in the joint. You know, it's not going to be me, you know?
Well, I mean, it definitely sounds like you got a little bit of old school in you. And I think that's respected by a lot of people. You can tell when people are genuine with it, and you can tell when people are, like you said, just putting on a front. And
I think so.
You've been in, like we said, you've been involved in life. You've done a little stretch of time. You got out, you're trying to show people that there's something you can do, spin a negative into a positive, because that's one thing, man, especially when people do long stretches of time. I've got friends that came out after doing 10 years and they can't get it together, and they wind up right back in there. And sometimes they don't come out, you know, because it's real easy for people to fall into a trap once they get out. They make it hard for you. It's hard when you come out, especially doing that kind of time. You know, the deck is stacked against you right off the bat as soon as you walk out them gates. And for you to be able to spin it into something like this is nothing short of amazing.
Listen, my record is, you know, you could scale a building with it if you connected it together. You know, I mean, the racketeering indictment with all the different, you know, charges that are under it. RICO's a main charge, and then they hit you with all these different things, you know, wire fraud, you know, like a phone conversation was one count, communication fraud, telling the person wire the money here, then the wire going from one bank to the other was a wire fraud, and it's under the RICO statute. And you know, so it's like you got 143 charges of something where it was one act. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
like, what the fuck? I mean, not one act meaning the racketeering,
right?
You know, each individual thing. But if you got wire and communication fraud, that's one act. You're talking, hey, do this, but they're charging you 2 things that bring 5 years each. You know what I mean? So it's just nuts, man. But and you don't even want to get me started on the RICO law, man. That thing is so unconstitutional. Oh, yeah. It's not even funny, you know. But you know, if I'll say this about it: if the government, if the RICO law was applied to the government, everybody in government would be doing 30 years.
Oh yeah,
everybody. You know.
I just had a go ahead.
But they don't. I'm saying so.
Oh yeah, I just had a sit down the other day with Anthony Ruggiano Jr. Now his dad was Fat Andy Ruggiano from New York. He was tied in, and we had that conversation. Like everything that the mob and those guys did back then to make money is pretty much legal now. You know, they ran numbers. Now we have the lotto. You know, they loaned out interest rate or money at high interest rates. Now you have these fucking check cashing places on every corner that do the same thing. They took books and, you know, we're bookmakers. Now you can hop on your phone and bet through DraftKings. Hell, weed's legal now in a lot of places, prostitution, all because the government was tired of other people getting that money. They wanted to go in and get their piece.
That's a fact. Well, let me tell you what's funny. All right. Credit cards are like what, 30%?
Oh yeah.
29, 25, 29. Nobody ever charged that for money on the street. You understand? It's like 30%. Are you crazy? That's like nuts, you know, but it's legalized, man. So the government says that banks can charge you like that, and people go out and they get a credit card and they go buy a TV and they end up paying $8,000 over the course of the loan for a $2,000 TV. It's just crazy. It's madness.
And that's what a lot of people don't get is that's a lot of, you know, what the mob did was people that couldn't get credit, you know, you can't go to a bank. The bank's not going to give you credit, but they would go to the street and they would go. And you know, I don't have to tell you what happens when you don't pay to them. It's a little bit different what happens when you don't pay your credit card bill, but
But let me tell you something about that. Not that I know anything about it, you know, but I'm just going to say that, you know, what I may have heard here or there. Nobody ever, nobody from the mob. It's not like a customer service. They don't go knocking on your door to give you money.
yeah, you come to them.
And everybody comes looking for money. And then all of a sudden, when you've agreed to the terms or whatever the case may be, and then you want to buck them on that, and then all of a sudden they're the bad guys for wanting to collect their money. I mean, it just doesn't make no sense. You know what I mean? So, but you know, and plus the side thing is that, you know, at least people that I've ever encountered, you don't loan bad money. You know, you're not gonna chase good money with bad money. And what I mean by that is somebody's not gonna loan money to someone who has no way to pay it back.
Correct.
So if you're somebody who's going to borrow money, they have some type of history with you. That you either got a business that they can get their foot in the door, or, you know, you have some way that they know that you're going to hit at some point. You might be a hustler on the street. You might rob jewelry. You might rob trucks, whatever the case may be. Doesn't matter what it is. Somebody knows that you're good for that money, or you will be good for that money.
Yeah.
And generally when people choose not to pay it, it's just because some people get in their head that, oh, they're not going to do nothing to me. I'll be able to talk my way out of it. And a lot of times you can't. Mm-hmm. You know, because you didn't own up to your commitment. That's what it's all about. You know, it's all about, if you say you're going to do something, you do it when you say you're going to do it. You don't come with the excuses. The excuses is a form of disrespect. You're showing disrespect to the person that you made a deal with. And 99% of the time, it's all about the respect. You understand? So that's what happens.
No, that's it 100%. And like you mentioned earlier, anybody wanting to be in that type of life now in today's times, it's like you said, it's absolutely crazy, because there's no respect anymore in the streets. I mean, there's no loyalty. There's no, you know, like old school ways of thinking. That just doesn't even exist anymore. Most guys don't even want to do an overnighter, let alone take a year or two in jail for somebody. They'll rat you out for anything. So like you said, there's so many legal ways to make money now. All you need, like you need that idea, and Facebook, one of the biggest free public platforms ever. You know, I know people just, you know, went off doing comedy. I mean, there's so many ways to make money now, you know, legally, that you don't even have to go down those avenues anymore.
I'm going to tell you something. Facebook is the sole reason that I have anything going for me. The sole reason. The social media, sole reason. I had, you know, 500,000-600,000 on Instagram, but Instagram only shows, you know, the same 10 people all the time. Right. It just got hacked by some Bitcoin mining fucking people that hacked it, and then Instagram shut it down because they were connecting Facebook accounts and requesting money from there for Bitcoin and stuff, and they deactivated it. So 5 years of building up Instagram, and it happens to a lot of people on Instagram.
Yeah.
That you deactivate someone's business and livelihood, which, you know, would it be, you know, Office Depot or me trying to come up and film, and they spend all this time cultivating their fan page and their fan base and stuff like that. And then you allow a hacker to come in, and then you penalize the person. You know, you would think that they would have the technology to go in and be able to see who is the person that's violated this person's account and remove them. Instead, they don't care. They just deactivate your account. Yeah. And they don't give you no recourse. You can't call somebody or whatever. They'll say there's emails or whatever, but if you send one and they don't choose to answer you back, which 90% of the time they don't, you're dead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You said it on the money, because I'm working trying to build up, you know, the crime and entertainment page, and it's a grind trying to do that, to get people to follow you. Like you said, it's no more than a click of the finger, but it's still, to get people to do that, it's a grind. So you got to be on it, and you put in all that time, and just for something, you know, stupid shit like that to happen and it goes away, that's taking away, you know, revenue. It's taking away eyes on your product. People that's going to buy anything you're selling, your merch. So that's a huge hit. You hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah, and that's why Facebook is such a powerful tool, because they're very good at keeping the hackers out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, people knock social media, but I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a more powerful tool in the world than social media, because every single person on the planet is walking around with a cell phone.
Exactly.
And they're stopped at a red light. They're on the shitter. They're in between commercials on TV. They're watching a TV show and they're still on their phone. Everybody is addicted to their phones.
Yep.
They don't go 5 minutes without checking their phones.
My son even told me, he was like, Dad, he said, you need to make a TikTok. And I was like, a TikTok? I don't even know nothing about that. I was like, I'm Facebook and Instagram. And he talked me into it. And we sat down. So what I would do is I would take clips from the shows and put them on TikTok, then share that to Instagram, then that to Facebook. And some of them TikToks, man, I put up that one of Anthony Ruggiano the other day. It had 900 views in like a couple of hours. And I'm just like, you know, that's crazy how fast it can reach people.
Yeah, that TikTok stuff, those nuts, man. It's the younger generation with all these weird things about cheating on boyfriends and girlfriends, and there's some really weird, wacky stuff. But yeah, I can see where, you know, it could be entertaining. But to me, there's nothing more powerful of a tool than Facebook for marketing yourself or your business, because it allows you to do things nobody else does. You can post your videos, you can post links without problems, you know, you can connect with people. So yeah, it is difficult to build the following where, like I told you in the beginning, where they got to log onto your page and actually click the follow and stuff like that. But once people come across you and there's something that grabs them about your show or whatever the case may be, you're going to be able to pull that person in, you know? So, you know, you just got to keep grinding. I mean, look, you know, as well as I do, 4 years ago, what I have, you know, I would probably have, you know, 200 likes and 13 comments. You know, now when I post something, it's usually 1,000, 2,000 likes and 300 comments, you know what I mean? So, you know, you just keep going. And if you're doing something that's at least entertaining or authentic, I think that people like, then they're gonna invest in you, you know? And what I mean by invest, meaning their time, because let's face it, it's time, you know?
So when can we expect the Mob King? Because you've been working on it quite a while, and you are correct now, or I'm correct rather, we're going to do a movie and not a TV show, because I know that was kind of bounced around.
We're doing both. I'm supposed to go over I'm supposed to go over real soon here to Spain again, if I decide to. I got so many things happening now, I might just, you know, keep doing my own thing, because, you know, I can do that at this point. I got a little, I've been pushing them off for the last 2 months to get the movie done, so I have it grandfathered in, because once I go over to do the show, they own the Mob King trademark and everything, you know? So I'm a little apprehensive about giving it out now, because if my movie's a big hit, obviously I'll be able to write my own ticket with shows and stuff like that. But to answer your question, we, you know, we decided, me and Jokes, George Yanez, he goes by Jokes. He's an Emmy Award winner. We decided to reset the whole deck on the Mob King series, right? Because we're better at what we do. I had some downtime because of COVID, and, you know, it wasn't going over to Spain. So we were like, man, let's just shoot the movie, you know? So we got with Anthony Caliendo, who's the other executive producer, and paid a big chunk of it, you know, between me and him. And we rewrote the script brand new, like his first day out of prison. And it's just fire, man. I can't wait for you guys to see it. So the official trailer is going to drop in a month, in April. We're going to be doing a private screening for buyers and press and all that stuff at the Chinese Theater in California in late April. And then we're going to be at the Directors Guild Theaters in New York City. I think it's in Madison Avenue. I think it's 357 Madison Avenue, if I remember correctly. But it's that theater is only for movie premieres. So it's like the theater is designed and set up to be so aesthetically pleasing for you to watch a movie that everybody goes there to, you know, to do it. So just the fact that we're going to be doing in those two places is big time. You know, it's big time. So can't wait for that. And then there's a process behind it. You know, you have to sell your movie to certain people. Like AMC theaters will be there to watch what we call a screener, to decide if they want to do a deal with us to put it in their theaters. You got to get with distribution people, international sales. It's a, you know, it's the whole thing about, oh, I'm going to make something and get it distributed. That's a farce, man. There's so much involved in it that it's not even funny. That's why you see very few people ever break out independently. It's usually the big studio names or whatever the case may be. So in that sense, I'm hoping to open the doors for other people and show that it can be done. But in the end, there's one sentence that matters, man. Content is king. If you make good stuff, the doors are going to open for you, you know? If you got a character that people like, you know, can invest in and say, I like this dynamic, I like this family, I like the way this guy is on screen, I like the way the mood of the show is, the music, you know, it's just one of those things, man. There's certain things you turn on and you dig it, you know, like for me, it's like Pinky Blinders or, you know, Red Reddington, you know, characters that are just awesome. That's the Blacklist guy. I don't know if you ever seen.
Oh yeah,
phenomenal show.
Yeah, James Spader, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
But that Peaky fucking Blinders, I love that show, man. that shit is just so dope, man.
Yeah, Oz, The Wire, Sopranos. I loved all those coming up, man. All those.
Yeah, Antoni Corone was in Oz, man.
Yeah,
he's the one.
Yep.
He's the one that stabbed the black guy in the wheelchair. Remember? It was a big deal back then, 20 years ago.
Yeah, him and Chuck Zito were in there together. I think they were in the Italian group in there. Yep.
Yeah. So that was great. Yeah, Oz was phenomenal.
Oz and Sopranos. I've interviewed a couple guys off the Sopranos: Robert Fonara, John Fiore, even Lilo Brancato. I know he didn't have a main role in there, but you know, obviously people know him from A Bronx Tale and you know, Renaissance Man. He's got a pretty crazy story too. But yeah, I think anytime those shows like that, when you can bring something like that to the table, because everybody kind of likes to, even if they don't want to be an outlaw, live vicariously, even if it's through a TV show. That's why shows like that do so well. Sons of Anarchy, you know, everybody's not going to go join a motorcycle gang, but you can watch it and kind of live through that character. And that was another great one, you know, that captivated people. It was basically Sopranos on motorcycles. I mean, it was fantastic. I don't know if you watched it or not, but I
watched all 5 seasons, man, or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think it was 6, something like that. But yeah, fantastic show. Now you've
the way it ended. I love the way it ended too, with him running in the front of a semi.
Yeah.
It was great.
We got a motorcycle show in the works too, right? Don't you have a little part in something there?
Yeah, I'm throwing something together with that too. It'll be a pilot. I'll probably try to get to around the end of summer. You know, we'll see how that goes. You know, it's all going to depend on what happens with Spain, what happens with the movie, you know, stuff like that. You know, I got silent partners that we're probably going to switch into a movie. It's a pilot now, but I wasn't able to really do much with it because COVID for 2 years just completely shut down the entertainment industry. Nobody was wanting to buy, you know, what we call, you know, what do they call it? I don't remember this.
Scripts or.
Yeah, there's a word for it when it's seasonal, you know, where it's episodic.
Okay, yeah, episodic.
Yeah, so they weren't looking to invest in episodic material, you know, because nobody knew if you were going to be shut down or if you could, you know, film or whatever the case may be. So, you know, that was on hold for a while, but that's really good. I got James Russo in that again. I got Nick Vallonga, who won the Oscar for Green Book, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually very good friends with Oksana Lada, who played Tony Soprano's mistress.
Yep. His Gumata,
Irina, yeah. I can get her to come on your show if you want. And Artie, yeah, she's great. And Artie Pasquale was in The Sopranos. He plays in my show. So we had a couple guys from The Sopranos too.
Yeah, I seen what Robert LaSardo, he was in Nip Tuck, Drop Zone. Yeah. Drop Zone was always one of my favorite movies, and he was in that there. I like that. Yeah. He's a phenomenal actor, man. He's got a lot of tattoos on that fella. He's a cool fella.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. He's really entertaining as a friend, very down to earth. You know, some of these guys I strike up good friendships with, like James Russo and Robert, actually, you know, where there's a lot of guys in this business that have big egos and they're very narcissistic, and I can't relate with those type of people. I mean, no offense, they can do what they want. It's no problem. Hire you, come in, you do your job. But there's some people that I become real good friends with. And James Russo is one of those authentic guys. Robert LaSardo is one of those guys, you know. So, you know, I've made some good lasting relationships. Antoni Corone, obviously. So, you know, I enjoy that part of it. The main thing that I like doing best is creating stuff, though. You know, I just act in it right now because, you know, supposedly people think that I do it well, and you know, they like it, so it moves the product. And in my eyes, it saves me from having to pay somebody who's the tomato, as we call it, the lead. You know, so. But eventually, I just want to be a guy that makes shows, man. I'm not, like I told you in the beginning of this interview, I'm not a clout chaser. I could give a shit less about being famous. I just want to make sure that I have the money. I want to take care of my kids, my grandkids. I want to, in the end, you know, 20 years from now, if I live that long, you know, I want to be able to, for my kids to at least be able to say they were proud of their dad, because even though they say it, you know damn well you can't be proud of somebody who wasn't in your life. You know what I mean?
Right.
And who left you to fend for themselves without a father. You know, I mean, even though I sent money from prison, because you know, when I went in, I was still strapped. You know what I mean? So, you know, I hid stuff pretty good, you know. But the fact of the matter is that no amount of money in the world can give a kid needing their parents. You know, the system is so set up where they make it so hard for you to have a relationship with your family. They claim otherwise. Oh, we want you to be with your family and talk to your family, but it's not like that at all, man. They make it very difficult. People come to visit you. They make it very uncomfortable for them, and it's just bullshit. The whole way they got it all set up. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of scumbags who deserve to be in prison. I probably deserved to have been in prison too. Like I said, I'm not somebody who's going to always be like, oh, I don't, poor me. Look, it is what it is, right? But these pedophiles and stuff like that, they got it easy in prison these days, man. They go in and get in these check down prisons where, they're just, they shut down the compounds for them to move around. It's called protective management. And, here they are, they're in a nice, comfortable environment where they get to swap stories with fellow pedophiles about their deviant activities. And it just makes me sick, So I don't hide nothing about it. Whenever I got a chance to get my hands on one, I got my hands on them, and yeah. And there was a lot of guys like me. So, we went after them,
Kudos to you on that and everybody else. That's one thing, like you said, I can't stand, man. I can't even can't comprehend or wrap my mind around or fathom what would make somebody want to do something like that to a kid, boy, girl, whatever the case may be. It's fucking sickening.
And, you read these new Facebook stories, these news features. It's like I spend more time on the Facebook news line, have you seen that thing where they got where you click it and you read all the headlines? And I guess the way their algorithms are set up, when you hit on something, they show you more of it. So I'm always seeing these crimes, man. And it's like so many of these people do things to their kids, and it just makes me sick, man. And I kind of like feel the pain of this little 3-year-old that I read about today or whatever, and what they were going through. And the story was, it didn't want to go back to, he never wanted to leave his grandparents' house, and the fucking father, killed him. And I just wanted to get my hands on that prick, and I couldn't, you know what I mean?
Like the guy that killed, he had 2 twins, and he killed his wife. I can't remember his name. They had a Netflix special on him, but he killed them all that night and then went and put them in like a fucking silo or something.
Yeah. Yes, man. I just don't understand how people can do that to their kids. And it's rampant, man. It's rampant. It's rampant. It's everywhere. It's just, it's unbelievable. Keeping kids in closets, keeping them in dog cages, man, it gets my blood boiling, man, so.
Well, like you said, if anybody deserves to be in that worst of the worst prisons, it's those fucking people for sure.
Yeah, but the prison system shouldn't protect them. That's like the biggest gross mismanagement of taxpayer dollars and just, karma in general, man. They're put there, and then like you see on TV, they'll be like, oh, you don't want to see what's going to happen to you when you get to prison. Man, the second they get to prison, they check in, and that's it. They're out of your reach. You can't get them no more. Jeez. It's disgusting.
We definitely see eye to eye on that. We see eye to eye on the content too, because I'm telling you what, I'm digging everything you're putting out, man. I'm a big fan.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Even some of the other stuff, Brass Knuckles, Suitcasing that you had out. Give everybody a brief synopsis on the Suitcasing for people that might not understand what that is before we wrap this up, because some of the people might not understand exactly what that is. And we touched on it earlier about getting stuff in prison. Give us a little description of that real quick.
Well, suitcasing is a term in prison of, guys bringing things inside their cavity, So it's basically a true story. It happened in my dorm with some of my people. You can see it on Amazon. Just search Amazon Suitcasing or Ciro Dapagio, and it'll come up. It's a 10-minute proof of concept, comedy proof of concept, but it's doing really well on there, so I leave it on. But it's one of those things where I put it together to potentially add to my repertoire to try to get a content deal, to provide content. But anyway, Suitcasing, is something where, like, I used to use the work squads, and have the people deliver. Like, you'd find somebody, there's usually about 10, 11 guys on a work squad. You'd find somebody whose wife or girlfriend or father, mother, it didn't really matter. They would put the bomb, as we called it, out somewhere. They'd say, okay, here's where you draw a little map. They put it wherever they're weed eating or something. Mm-hmm. They pull it back, and then you got 3 or 4 mules on that particular squad, or maybe only 2 mules, and they might have to do it 3 days in a row to bring the stuff in. But this particular one guy, this guy named Prescott, we used the name, the real names and everything of everybody in the little show. He was like the Gucci bag, man. He was able to bring 2 flip phones and a quarter roll every time, But one time it got stuck, one of the phones got stuck for 3 days. So there was this dairy farmer named Cowboy. in our dorm, man. And he was like, I can get that. So, you know, it was funny, man. You had the whole dorm watching out because we had this officer, Paquin, a big fat white guy. And he would always go out and smoke for like 15 minutes. So we waited for him to go out and smoke. Boom, went behind the shower walls, and we got the Samsung out, man. So that's pretty much how the story is there.
Oh man, well,
It's crazy stuff.
Y'all got to check that out, man. I'm telling you, check out everything that this man's involved in, because I'm telling you what, if I'm putting my stamp on it, it fits that mold and the stuff that I like. And like what you said, you put out good content, people are going to come. And that's one thing when I started doing this show, you know, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to put out what I like, because I know a lot of guys like me that like the same thing. So I have control over who I bring on. I just don't bring any and everybody on here to fill up an episode. If I don't have something to talk about that week, I'll just let the week go by. I want to put people, you know, that are trying to get their story out there, trying to get their stuff out there, and obviously some established people too. But I respect the hustle that I see in you, man. I respect the hell out of it. You've been grinding, you've been doing your thing, and I got a feeling you're fixing to, you know, blow up, and it's going to pay off for you, and you'll be able to do everything that you were talking about with getting more of a behind the camera role and kind of more creating more content, because everything you're putting out, I think with the right backing and the right market, would be phenomenal shows.
Well, your mouth to God's ears, man. And I want to say, you know, I don't do a lot of interviews. You know, I get requests all the time for podcasts and stuff like this, but you got a great energy about you. So I wanted to do the show with you. You came at me the right way. And, you know, it's like, you know, I don't not do them because I think I'm too good to do them. I just don't do them. You know, I don't know why. I just don't. It's like, okay, I tell people, all right, yeah, check with me later or whatever. But for some reason, I liked your energy or whatever. And that's why I said, yo, I'll do it from the car, man. If you want to do it, I got an hour before I go to the gym. Let's do it, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, most time when I hit somebody, we kind of make something 2 or 3 weeks out. I hit you last night. We spoke a little bit and he's like, hey, we'll do it tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, shit. You know, that's how you roll. And I like it. So listen, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. It was a blast here having you, you know, getting to talk to and find out some things that even I didn't know about, some behind the scenes stuff, you know, about your life and about how things were shot. And I'm sure everybody will find this video interesting. Be on the lookout for the Mob King, everybody. When we put this episode out, I'll drop the teaser that you sent me in Messenger along with it. And I'll link anything you want me to put on there, man. Drive people to your site. You got a lot of merch, a lot of swag on there. Go get you some Mob King swag. I'm going to get mine ordered too.
MobKingOliveOil.com.
Yep. Mob King olive oil. I'm going to have to get me another one of that garlic. I've had that garlic before, and I don't know, that was some good stuff. But you got a ton of stuff on there, don't you? What you got? Balsamic vinaigrette now and everything.
Everything. Balsamic, you know, the apple balsamic is off the chain, man. It's great. We got all kind of good stuff, man. You just go to mobkingoliveoil.com. You can get the Mob King bottles, and then you could also check my partner Caliendo. We have a whole bunch of other stuff that we didn't put the Mob King labels on. So you can buy, like a lot of people, they like to get the 1 or 2 bottles that I sign for them, because I sign them myself. I pack them myself right now. You know, for the last couple of weeks, I've been doing that because I've had some time off in between. So I feel like that's part of the effort that I make. I feel like if people are going to take the time to buy my stuff, then I'm going to show them that I'm going to take the time to go do it myself. So our warehouse guy wanted to go on vacation. I'm like, go, man, I got you. And, you know, I've been doing it, you know, so that's how it works.
Well, that's nothing but respect for that, brother. Nothing but respect. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I've had a blast. And like I said, we wish you nothing but the best in all your future endeavors you got going forward, my friend.
Thank you, man. I'll make sure that you're the first guy after we get out, the movie comes out. And if it's a big hit, I'll be back here again to say hi.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Ciro Dapagio. I am Hollywood Wade. Thank you for tuning in on this episode of Crime and Entertainment. Appreciate it, my friend.
Bye, brother.